At this point, the catalytic converter white pipe, drive shaft, starter, and battery ground cable have been disconnected. On the driver's side, disconnect the transmission shift linkage by removing the nut using a 13mm socket. If you find that the nut spins indefinitely, hold down the metal piece to stop the bolt from turning. Remove 2 bolts securing the linkages bracket using a 10mm wrench. Disconnect the neutral safety switch's connector. Mine was able to be pried off. You can leave it on for now as there is still another connector above it that is hard to reach. You can disconnect it later on. It looks like you would push down on this tab. On the passenger side, disconnect the transmission harness electrical connector, push down on its tab and pull. Disconnect the transmission fluid cooler tubes using a 13mm wrench, preferably a line wrench. At this point, we're going to remove the 2 most difficult to reach transmission to engine bolts, the top 2. Get the most difficult part out of the way early, right? The driver's side top bolt, we're going to reach it from this angle. For the top driver's side bolt, this is what I built. Other technicians have called it the snake. At the very tip of it, we have a 13mm swivel socket, followed by 3 wobble sockets, ending with a 5-inch and a 12-inch extension. The 3 wobble sockets, I just got a economical set from smallest to biggest. And when you put the bolt back in, you're gonna wanna tape it to your socket. And here's the snake in action. Passenger side top bolt, we'll get it from this angle. This one is much easier to get to. For the infamous passenger side top bolt, we have a similar setup. We're using the 13mm swivel with the shortest wobble socket. And then from there on, 5-inch, 8-inch, 12-inch extension. It's real easy to get from the side there. There's other combinations of extension and swivels to reach these 2 bolts. I want to know the combination you used down in the comments. On the passenger side, we'll also remove the other 2 transmission to engine bolts. That top one you can easily get to using the 13mm swivel and a few extensions. You would then move the dipstick tube to the side and remove the other bolt. Have a pan ready. When you remove the dipstick tube, transmission fluid will pour out. Keep track of the location of the transmission to engine bolts. They are all the same head, but different lengths. We're going to move on to removing the 4 torque converter to flex plate nuts. Remove the cover. This view is from the front driver's side. You'll rotate the crankshaft to access the 4 bolts. A 14mm socket removes the nuts. A 13/16 socket with a 5-inch extension is used to turn the crankshaft. While you're here, remove the 2 transmission to oil pan bolts. Set up and place your transmission jack. Remove the remaining transmission to engine bolts on the driver's side. These are real easy to access. On the passenger side, remove the lone oil pan to transmission bolt. Remove the transmission mount. Outer bolts use a 13mm socket. Inner bolts, a 16mm socket. Lower the transmission a bit to access the connectors on the driver's side. Also, unclip the harness on the driver's side. Use a torque converter holding tool to keep the torque converter from coming out of position. Use an oil pan to transmission bolt removed earlier to secure it. And that's it. Here the flex plate is removed, but when you reinstall the transmission, you will start with the connectors. Then you will line up the transmission to those two dowel pins right there. Here the dowel pins are aligned and the torque converter stud will pass through the flex plate. Put in your 3 oil pan to transmission bolts. Torque specification is 45 pound-feet. The 4 torque converter to flex plate nuts are torqued to 27 pound-feet. The cover has a clip that clips into that hole there. Get your transmission mount back on. The outer bolts are torqued to 41 pound-feet and the inner to 59 pound-feet. Remove the transmission jack and get the 7 transmission to engine bolts in. Surprisingly, I was able to thread in the passenger side top bolt by hand. The rest, such as cooler lines and linkage fasteners, are snugged up. And you got it from there, right? When you get the car running, congratulations. You've just completed one of the most difficult jobs on this vehicle. Have a good day.